Hello students, welcome again to the new segment. In this segment, we want to emphasize that some of the tricks and techniques that we learned with regards to the Cannon classification algorithm, they are still going to be applied here while we are developing our naive Bayesian classifier. So for instance, when we are trying to build our model with C and B with some training data T, and if we want to learn our model based on some specific variables, so we can mention that as we mentioned it when we were developing our Cannon classification algorithm, right? So this will select a subset of attributes or predictor variables. Alternatively, you can also specify it like with a name value pairs, such as the predictor names, and then provide it with a list of predictors that you want to take part, right, in building your classifier, such as variable 1, variable 2. Remember to enclose it in single quotes, right? So this syntax is essentially valid here while we are trying to develop our naive Bayesian classifier as well. Similarly, while we were covering the Cannon classification algorithm, so we noted that the class names, this property can be used to select and train a model with some subset of the classes. So here we need to mention the class names: RS setosa, RS versicolor, and so on, right? So this will learn a model based on some subset of the classes. Similarly, some of the properties that we covered while we were covering the naive Bayesian classifier, they are still here, and they are very much similar. Right. So, for instance, if we browse a little bit the properties, so Y is the same as that of the Cannon classification, that it contains the response variable values. Similarly, this contains the predictor values, right? And similarly, this contains the predictor names, the categorical predictor names, if there are any, the response variable names, the class names, the prior, the cost metric. So they are pretty much similar, right? So this was an important point. And in some classification algorithms, if there are differences from this particular conventional values, so then I will mention that to you, right? But for now, we will assume that all the classification algorithms that we use, unless and until I specify them differently, so they will have the default values. By default values, we mean that their description while we were covering the Cannon classification algorithm. So that was a brief note. Hope you're enjoying the course. See you in the next segment.